We the people, we are the system. The 21st century will be the century of the common people, the century of you, the century of us. We live in remarkable transformative times. We have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips. All the recorded knowledge in the world is being digitized and made available through the internet. Meanwhile, the ideologies of the old school of politics, media, monetary systems, education, corporations, and all known structures are in a state of transformation. They are crumbling. Yeah. Now is the time for fundamental change on all fronts. We have to seize this moment because this is the moment. Our states are built around systems that are outdated, created in simpler times for smaller societies. Today, those systems no longer serve the people, but they are self-preserving and serve themselves. The welfare states have been hollowed and are on the verge of collapse, often as a way to privatize it. We know this in Iceland. We are running out of planet, dear friends, and our current systems are simply unable to come forward with any solutions to it. Now, most of our democracies have become like dictatorship, with 100 talking heads resting on the body of the corporate monster. Draconian anti-terrorism laws and secrecy have somehow become the new norm. Modern democracies have become a freaky mix of Brave New World and 1984. Now, how creepy is that? We are being manipulated every day into believing that we are powerless, that there is nothing we can do to change the system. But I am telling you, that is a lie. We have never been as connected as we are today, as enabled to share real-time stories of successes and failures. Therefore, our learning curve is much steeper than ever before. We are sharing, downloading, remixing, and co-creating every day. Now, do you know what metadata means? Data retention? I mean, do you know what it is on a really deep level? Like you understand that you have a constitutional right to vote without anybody knowing who or what you voted for? Like you understand that the conversation between a lawyer and its client should remain private? Like you understand that your communications with your doctor should remain private? Like you understand that a journalist and its source should be able to have private conversations? So do you really know what metadata is? I don't think so. That doesn't mean anything to me as a word. But I'm telling you that those values and actions, they are no longer private. Because data retention of your metadata simply means that you are butt naked in the system. You're completely naked. Because your digital persona is for everyone that has enough power or capital to see, to mock. Anybody remember Snowden's story about the penises? To poke at, to sell, to touch, to manipulate, and to consume. Because your digital persona is like your shadow. It follows you everywhere you go. But unlike your normal shadow, it can be captured, it can be changed, it can be shared, or it can be sold. If your walls in your house were all windows, would you draw the curtains when you go to sleep? When you have sex? When you go to the bathroom? Yes? Maybe. Well, in your digital house, you simply don't have the choice. There are no curtains. So encryption and legislation are key to pull the curtains when you choose. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. You have the power to be a catalyst for change in your world. It has always been individuals who change our world. Not some external power, but individual power for good, or for evil. So, do you want others to be the power in your life? Do you? Or do you want to accept the responsibility of claiming your power and use it by being a part of co-creating your society? Well, I want to. I don't know about you, but that's something I really feel that I need to do. And it's always been this sort of weird, strong sense of social responsibility that has been part of my person ever since I was a kid. Maybe because I was that sort of freaky outcast in my fishing village, the ugly duckling, I like to see myself. But I somehow, in my alienation as a kid, learned to be my own personal alchemist, to turn these difficulties in strength. And I have accepted as well that I am some sort of guinea pig when it comes to system failures. And those that know me know what I'm talking about. So I've also had really severe, intensive crises in my personal life that shaped who I am. My father and my husband both vanished on a suicide mission. My father on Christmas Eve, 1987. And he was never found. He walked into a river. And I chose to use that to figure out why I was so self-destructive and to build myself into a more compassionate person. And I was very lucky I decided to take that path. And I found a beautiful book that helped me a lot, which is called The Art of Love by Eric Fromm. And But when my husband vanished a few years later, I learned to live and cope in a situation of extreme uncertainty. And that has really helped me later in life to deal with very extreme circumstances. Like I was really cool when the crisis was. And there is never a night where I can't fall asleep, because I also learned techniques to not mindfuck. So, I later learned when I was analyzing the systems we live in that they are all built on human values. And so we deal with our systems and see them from that. And I tell you a secret. We made these systems, so we can very easily undo them. Don't let them tell you that you can't. Now, I'll tell you another thing, which I realized that what might seem impossible today might be possible tomorrow. Because we're living at these really transformative, interesting times. So I want to encourage you to start to make a blueprint for the future you want to live in, because nobody else is going to do it for you. So I want to talk about my favorite word. Have you ever thought about where the word revolution comes from? I really like this word. It's my favorite word because it means change and means evolving with love. These words are inside the revolution. So, how awesome is that? So the question is, why are we so afraid of change? Humans seems to be obsessed with trying to make time stand still, stagnant, like dead water. So what are you so afraid of? Maybe we are afraid because we've made everything so complex and grand. Maybe it is time to return to more simpler ways, to more self-sustainable ways. We can do that by learning from each other, by helping each other, both locally and globally. But most importantly, we need to remember that we as individuals can change the world. So, now is the time to step forward. And I would really like you to think that you can. Because the time has arrived for all of us to make a difference. Because we can and we should. 7 years ago, for example, I was just unemployed, temporary unemployed geek, single mom with, 3 kids. But I had this really strong urge that I needed to figure out how can I improve my society? How can I make sure that we will not end up in the same mess as led us into the crisis in Iceland? It was a really remarkable time. And I have to tell you something, that I have never, ever dreamt of being a politician. Never. Or a parliamentarian. I do not fantasize about being a minister or a prime minister. I actually had a nightmare about that a long time ago that I wrote down in a poem. But people are sort of trying to fit me into these roles because my cute little pirate party, that is the smallest in the parliament, is now the most popular party in Iceland. We are all really shocked. We actually had a crisis meeting on how to deal with all this success. But, I'm a big fan of the circle, and I've tried to imply that in everything I do, also my political movement. I believe in the circle of power, not the pyramid of power, upside down or on the side, but the circle of power and the circle of community. I made the following pledge to myself when I entered into this humble service role that I am in now, and that is to always remember to listen to my heart, and my gut, and to be impeccable with my word. But finally, and most importantly, I really do not care if I don't have this job tomorrow. It's very useful if you are in this work. And also, I promise something like, when you do a job interview, when you're running for office, you are sort of doing a job interview for the entire nation. It's pretty scary. I promise to be the annoying fly in the tent, the mosquito, and, that is certainly a promise that I have kept. Just ask my colleagues. My main political objectives and vision took shape in a grassroots think tank that I was a part of in the wake of the financial crisis in 2008. And I really felt that it was so important that we would find legal tools to make the general public be able to influence what was happening inside the parliament. And I really felt that we, the people of Iceland, needed to create a new constitution for and by us. And because, it is obvious that we can't have things as they are today. And people are actually finally realizing that we are in this mess that we are currently in Iceland because we are back in a mess, because we didn't get our new constitution. It's been put in a coma. Now, secondly, my political aim and objective and vision was to make Iceland into a safe haven for freedom of information, expression, and transparency, with a really strong focus on digital privacy. For our direct democracy models that I wanted to help co-create. And to put a really strong focus on 21st century legislation, because there are very few people in parliaments that specialize in the day we live in. I guess I am also some sort of a party startup person. I have created 2 political parties in the last 7 years, both of whom got into the parliament. And I've been so lucky to work with really, diverse, amazing people in this party startup stuff. And but when I went inside the system, I really, because I come from this web developer world, I saw myself as a legal hacker. And I went inside, and I've been analyzing the system's strengths and weaknesses in order to figure out ways to improve it. I think it's been very important for me to follow my intuition It makes a lot more sense to me than this typical left and right tradition of rivalry and manipulations. And I think it is sort of old world type of politics of right and wrong. It's always in this black and white elements. I think it is really time that we get rid of professional politicians, because they're really far removed from the reality most of us live in. I think it's also important, in order for the common people like us to co-create our societies, we need to have legal tools to do so. Or people need to get into the parliaments to change the laws, so that we all can have the power that is, rightfully yours, ours, to impact our society and apply real pressure on those in power to work for us, not just the elite. One of the aims of both the civic movement and the Pirate Party has been to inspire ordinary people like you to take political responsibilities by stepping forward and take that leap into the unknown, and of course to be the annoying fly in the tent and open the windows of the institution in order for you to understand how it works, because it's always been shrouded in secrecy. Looking at all the different models for how to humanize and modernize how we run societies, have come to the conclusion that there is not one size fits all model, and there never will be. Technology has been enabling direct access to power, and there are many really amazing tools for us to use now. There is Democracy Oz, there is WeGov, there is the Pirate Party Liquid Feedback, there is Decent, and I encourage you to look them up, because you need to be engaged. And I think that the most important thing is to make people aware that if we want to live in real democracy, you need to be part of it, to engage in it. And to understand that living in democracy, it's work. It's hard work. It's just part of our daily routine. And I really think it is vital that people start a discussion among their friends about what sort of future they want to live in. What is the blueprint for your future in the next 50 years? If we, the citizens of Earth, do not start to create this blueprint, we will be heading nowhere. And it's important to remember that some of the most amazing innovations in creativity in the history of humankind has emerged in conditions of extreme stress, such as the New Deal. As human beings, we have now reached the stage where we have to evolve to the next level, or we will fail miserably to create a sustainable future for the next generation. Look up Imagine by John Lennon. That's a really good blueprint. And start talking about this. Start by the person next to you. Thank you very much.